In crypto, the most important question is often, are you a VASP or just a tech provider? That single line decides whether you need licenses, regulators, audits, and full AML obligations. In this module, we'll unpack where that perimeter sits and what it really means to be inside it. To understand crypto regulation, we start with one core idea, the VASP. FATF treats you as a VASP when you run a business that handles crypto for someone else. That can mean exchanging crypto, safekeeping private keys, transferring assets for customers, or providing crypto-related financial services. Do any of these as a business, and regulators are likely to see you as a VASP. Regulators don't begin by asking what your token is called. They start with what you actually do. Think in 4 functional tests. First, business conduct. Is this a side hobby, or are you providing services for revenue? Second, custody. Do users hold their own keys, or do you control the keys and execute transactions for them? Third, intermediation. Are trades direct peer-to-peer, or do you sit in the middle arranging or routing them? Fourth, economic role. Are you merely publishing software, or actively providing financial services like a broker, dealer, or advisor? When people say global crypto regulation, it sounds like a single framework. In reality, it's a patchwork NovaX and FinBridge have to stitch together. In the US, regulators look at functions through multiple lenses: money transmission, securities, and derivatives. The EU is moving toward one MiCA rulebook and CASP licensing. The UK anchors most activity in AML registration. In many Asian markets, treatment depends on whether a token behaves more like money or a security. A workable compliance strategy has to absorb all of these at the same time. For NovaX, the regulatory view is relatively clear. They hold customer assets, control the keys, run the order book, and move value between fiat and crypto. That's classic VASP territory, so full licensing and AML expectations apply. FinBridge sits closer to the perimeter. Purely viewing customer wallets is usually out of scope. But once they start routing trades via APIs, they move toward a broker role. If they then pool client assets and manage yield or custody, most regulators will treat them as a VASP as well. Terms like DeFi or wallet don't trigger a single reaction from regulators. At one end, you have pure tech, tools where users hold their own keys and no one stands in the middle. Those are generally outside today's VASP rules. Move into the gray zone when a team starts routing orders, setting fees, or curating access to specific protocols. And once a platform controls admin keys, governs the protocol, or actively markets yield, many regulators will treat it like a full VASP with corresponding AML obligations. When a crypto business applies as a VASP, regulators usually walk through 4 big questions. First, ownership. Who really owns and controls this business? They want clear legal structures and ultimate beneficial owners. Second, management. Who is actually running it? Where are decisions made, and what does the board look like? Third, integrity and competence. Fit and proper checks, test track records, skills, and personal finances. Finally, financial soundness. Is the business viable, with realistic revenue, and enough capital to operate safely? Think of a VASP AML program as a building held up by 4 pillars. First, enterprise risk assessment. Identify which customers, products, channels, and countries create the most risk. Second, policies and procedures. Clear rules for KYC, enhanced due diligence, sanction screening, and suspicious activity reporting. Third, systems and technology. The tools that make those rules work in practice. Fourth, governance. Accountable leaders, board oversight, and independent challenge. With these pillars in place, regulatory approval becomes a realistic outcome, not a gamble. For NovaX and FinBridge, perimeter thinking starts on day 1 of any new feature. Product teams begin with a rough idea of users, markets, and technology, but nothing is promised yet. Compliance then asks functional questions. Who holds the assets? Who takes the risk? And what exactly are users getting? Legal maps the answers to regimes such as VASP licensing, securities, or payments. Finally, they loop with regulators where needed, adjust scope or licenses, and repeat that cycle as the product evolves. When you hear staking or lending, regulators don't see one uniform product. They see a spectrum. At the low-risk end, the platform is almost a pure conduit. Users keep their own keys, and the provider mainly passes through protocol rewards. Risk increases when the platform aggregates assets, takes custody, or uses client funds as margin. It becomes high once you market fixed yields, pool funds, or relend them. At that point, you're inviting banking and securities rules into the conversation. To operate safely at the regulatory perimeter, you need discipline, not improvisation. First, no new product or feature should launch without a cross-functional approval committee that includes compliance, legal, risk, and the business. Second, set clear escalation triggers. Any change to custody, leverage, or yield must go through mandatory legal and compliance review. Third, document everything. Record perimeter assessments, rationales, and regulator conversations, so you can demonstrate good faith decisions later. Picture your business as a moving perimeter. At the core are true VASP functions and day-to-day AML operations. Around that sits licensing, registration, and ongoing dialogue with regulators. Outside it are pure tools and non-custodial tech. What counts is function, not branding. Keep reviewing that perimeter as products change, so you always know which side of the VASP line you're on.